Welcome to 520 Fishing. My name is Moose.
And I'm Freeman.
And we want to do a little introduction podcast to a new idea that we have. And we just want to kind of talk about some of the things that we want to bring to the fishing industry. One thing I've noticed is a little bit of a gap as far as things that I try to look up when it comes to fishing. Is a lot of times some of the information I look for out there isn't real simplified, or it's not real, I don't want to use the same term and say easy to understand, but our goal is with 520 Fishing is to bring you guys real reviews of real fishing equipment. Freeman and I both focus a lot on bass fishing. It doesn't mean that we don't do other fishing, because we certainly do, but basically most of the stuff that we're going to be talking about will be for bass fishing related equipment. Everything from rods to reels to line to hooks to sinkers to you name it, lures of all kinds. So just to get a couple things out of the way, at this time we're not sponsored by anybody. Nobody sent us anything to review. Everything that we're going to be reviewing is stuff that we bought with our own money. We do have places that we buy our equipment from, but we always try to hit those smaller brick and mortars, keep our industry alive. We hope to be able to bring you guys some great video reviews of everything, like I said, from tying knots to techniques for using specific things like drop shotting or wacky worming or things like that. And to be able to share this information with you guys all through YouTube as well as our website. The website is being built, 520fishing.com, and we'll, or at least that's what we hope it's going to be.
Right.
But we will, address that a little bit later on. But we want to start out just kind of introducing ourselves. So I'll share a little bit about myself. I've been a bass angler, for the better part of 28 years. I haven't always been real dedicated to just bass fishing, but it has always been the kind of backside passion. We decided recently to join the local club, to start fishing with them, doing some night tournaments as well as the club tournaments. And I've just developed this real passion for understanding bass, understanding movement, understanding lakes, different techniques for different times of the day, for different weather conditions. And this is all stuff that we want to be able to share with you guys, just to kind of give you a little bit more education. Some of the stuff we may talk about, you guys might go, God, man, I've known that for years. Well, that's great. Other people may not have.
Right.
So our idea is we want to bring that education to everyone.
And not only that, but we want to focus on the specific techniques and showing them well, showing them very close up, showing them clearly.
Absolutely.
Because not many videos show that.
No, I agree. And it's very difficult. People will talk about, let's take tubes for example. Tube fishing has, as of recently, become a big part of my arsenal.
Right.
Like, I am dead sold that tube fishing can produce amazing fish.
Right.
Doesn't mean that I don't use a wacky, or I don't use a crankbait, or I don't use a topwater, or I don't use a Texas rig worm, but tube fishing can be very lucrative for a lot of different conditions.
Right.
And
that's what you found out our last tournament. I mean,
I did.
Unbelievable results on a day like that.
Right. And then we ended up doing another night tournament, and I had outstanding results again. Two completely different weather systems, two completely different lakes, but at the same time, same production.
you know,
those fish with that
consistent.
consistent fishing, you can catch them on tubes. And you know, like I said, a lot of people out there are going, dude, I've known this for years.
Right.
But some other people that are listening or watching this YouTube video are going to say, I never really thought about it. Like,
Right.
I thought tubes were just for smallmouth fishing.
Right.
I didn't realize you could catch largemouth on tubes. So I got news for you. You can catch some really quality fish off of a tube bait with just a standard jig head, you know, inside. And
well, there's multiple different styles of heads and weights and
there are
rigs for them.
Absolutely, and this is stuff that we want to be able to share with the people. Different ways of fishing power style or finesse style. I personally am more of a finesse style fisherman. I think that I can say the same for Freeman.
Although
we like that subtle.
You did teach me that,
Right.
to slow down, because
Right.
I was a fast. You know,
You were
and
definitely
go.
a power fisherman.
Yeah.
You want to get out there and just throw that thing, whatever you were throwing, and just move on and not slow down, to take your time and to really, you've located fish. You know there's fish there.
Well, as of, you know, the other night, or was it last night?
It was last night.
I mean, right there shows you, we found fish. We ended up not staying because we were using a little different technique for the suspended fish.
Right.
And we should have stayed and changed our technique a little.
I tried to convince you.
I know.
At the same time,
I know.
hey, listen, man, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I'll voice my opinion, and
I still get caught up in that.
I know you do.
That
But that's all right,
now.
because that'll be part of our growth period, you know, and that's another thing I really want to stress to people is, you know, we are not master anglers. We
No.
are not elite series anglers, and I don't know that we'll ever be at that caliber. But by listening to this podcast or watching this video, I want you guys to grow with us. So as
Yes.
we're growing and we're learning new techniques and new advances in the way that we fish, we want to be able to share that with you and hopefully bring you guys along with us for the ride. So like I said, this podcast, this video series that we end up doing, and you know, we'll have hundreds of videos by the end of probably this year, maybe middle of next year. We have a whole lot of different baits that we want to talk about, review, things like that. So we're going to be putting out a lot of stuff, and we're hoping that, you know, for some of you, it may become an addiction to where you're like, hey man, that's cool, I never thought about doing that. You know, we were just sharing a story with one of our other club members, and I said, man, you know, last night I was fishing and all the fish were suspended, and you know, I'm trying to get a bait to go to that suspension. Well, I'm looking at the fish finder and I'm going, okay, they're at, you know, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet. So I broke out a 12-foot diving crankbait, and I started chucking the heck out of that crankbait. And for the first time in probably actually over 10 years, I think before that I may have caught one bass on a crankbait.
And isn't that crazy? Because you see crankbaits everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people aren't used to them or don't fish with them that often.
Right. I mean, there's so many baits out there, right, that so many people don't fish. Like I said, there's going to be people out there that never fish with a tube. You never assume that would work for bass.
Right.
You know, or they go, some people use a tube, but it's not for me. But the idea is that we want to show you guys that there's an incredible arsenal of weaponry out there to land those bass. And, you know, some days they're not going to want that Texas worm.
It's all
Some
about placing time.
Right.
Just
Some
like,
days they're not going to want that sticko. Some days they're not going to want that shaky head. You know, they might want that crankbait. They might want a wide wobbling crankbait, or other days they might want that real tight wobbling crankbait.
Exactly.
And these are the things that we want to be able to share with you guys over forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be able to do this for a long time to come. I want you guys to grow with us. I hope that you guys will subscribe to our YouTube channel. I hope that you guys will subscribe to our podcast channel and really kind of come full circle along with us and say, man, you know, these guys are really informative. Even if some of the stuff that we talk about you may already know a little bit about, you know, maybe there's one thing that we say that's a little bit different than what you guys have done, and you go, huh, I never thought about that.
Maybe I'll try that.
Maybe I'll try that. And maybe it'll land you that 5 or 6 pounder during your next tournament that puts you at the top of that leaderboard. Or if you're just a recreational fisherman, maybe it'll put you into a position where now you're not catching those 13, 14, 15, inch fish, and you're catching 19, 20, 21 inch fish, and you're going, wow, like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I did that. Whether you're fishing out of a float tube, a kayak, a rowboat, a canoe, off the shore.
Because we've done all of that.
And we want to cover those things. We want to talk about shore fishing. We want to talk about, Freeman and I both use kayaks. Freeman's got a bass boat as well, so we go out in Freeman's bass boat when we do our tournaments. We use our kayaks on our home lake. We live on a lake. We're next door neighbors practically. We're actually one house separated, but so we spend a lot of time out on the lake trying different lures, trying different techniques, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work for us or for our lake.
Right.
And we want to be able to share that with you guys. So we plan on bringing you guys videos from the boat, plan on bringing you guys videos from the kayaks, plan excuse me, bringing you videos from shore, just different stuff all the time. So it'll be pretty informative.
Yeah, and of course, it's not taken away from any of the guys who know most of this stuff already, like you said. We just want to inform the people who don't know, and maybe trigger something in the people's minds that do know all this stuff, that, hey, that was just a little bit different, just
That's
like
right.
you said.
That's right. And and a couple of things that I want to cover also about myself real quick before I turn this over to Freeman and let him give you his little spiel about himself is I don't keep bass. And I get a lot of grief for that. I show a lot of people, like, hey, this is my tournament from, Sunday. And I'm holding up 4 giant bass or 5 big bass, and they go, wow, did you fry them up? And I go, yeah. They went back in the lake so that they can make other bass, or I can catch them next year, or somebody else can catch them in 2 weeks and have as much fun as I did.
Exactly.
I don't want to deplete the system of bass. If I'm going to eat a fish, I'm going to eat a perch, I'm going to eat a crappie, I'm going to eat a walleye.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat, bluegill, sunfish on a nice little pan fry.
That's true.
But I'm not keeping bass. So
we look at bass as a sporting fish.
It is, absolutely.
And it's for the enjoyment.
Absolutely. So just to get that out of the way and clear up everybody's mind, no bass, if we can help it, are ever harmed in any of the videos that we shoot. They're caught legally, and they are released. Obviously, on occasion, bass do get hurt, they swallow hooks. I can assure you that if we catch a fish and you swallow the hook, that hook will be cut off and that fish will be released back to the water. If we catch a fish and he's damaged goods, that would probably be the only time that I would actually keep a bass in.
Yeah. Well, it's just like we saw in the Stony tournament. There was 3 dead bass. Right. I think the guys live one last
night. And they did, and there was enough people standing around. They offered them up for somebody to take home and eat, and somebody did step up and did take those fish home and eat.
Oh, cool.
So that's the way that it should work. If a fish is hurt to the point where he's just not going to recover, then that would be the only time that I would ever keep a fish to eat it. And I would have a hard time doing that just because I would feel so bad that I actually hurt the fish. Right. So yeah, that's moose in a nutshell. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your past fishing and what your deal is?
Well, basically, I grew up. I lived at my grandparents for a while on Cass Lake, and that's all I ever did was fish from the time I was probably 7 till 18, and then of course I had to work for a living, so it got less and less after that point. But yeah, so I mean, for 20-some years, just like you, fishing offshore mostly because I couldn't afford a boat at the time. It's one of them things that I got into, before I got into the bass tournaments and stuff like that, I was always a worm guy. You know, Texas rig. I really never even fished wacky before this year. So there's a lot of stuff I'm learning as I go that we need to put out there for other people too, because I know there's tons of people who are stuck on that one type of bait. And to tell you the truth, if you recognize the time and place for each of these baits, it's just you're gonna be blown out of the water, literally.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. I mean, you said it all when you said, you know, the way we fish for bass for sport. We don't like, you know, to hurt a fish if we can help it. I mean, that's just the way it is. Other than that, my experience is as we go.
Yep.
And I like this because I'm learning, they're learning, and we're gonna have a good time.
Listen, I can't tell you guys enough how much time I spend on educating the both of us. You know, Freeman works a lot more hours than I do, so he doesn't necessarily always have the time to put in the research. Me, on the other hand, you know, I'm usually out of work, you know, by 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I've got a good portion of my afternoon where I can spend searching and you know, educating myself on techniques, and you know, and that's exactly why we decided to start this. Is, you know, I was going out on, you know, the internet, and I was searching, you know, smallmouth bass techniques, you know, and what I found was is that there was a lot of people that, you know, like a lot of videos would come up, and you know, we're getting ready to do Lake St. Clair for 2 different tournaments actually.
Right.
And you know, I'm really excited because I love smallmouth fishing. I mean, oh my gosh, man, we had a riot out on Belleville Lake.
Yeah.
We are from Michigan, so any of you guys that are familiar with Mid-Michigan, you know, some of these lakes may sound familiar. Obviously, Lake St. Clair, that almost anybody who's listening, one of the #1 bass lakes in the world. You're familiar with Lake St. Clair. We're just blessed that we live in Michigan, and Lake St. Clair is only an hour down the road for us. So, you know, for us to go out to St. Clair is not a big deal. But watching these videos, what I found was I saw a lot of guys that were throwing lures, but they weren't really, nobody was really talking about, okay, so, all right, you know, I'm going to throw a spinnerbait today, and this is the retrieve that I use, this is the rod that I use, this is the reel that I use, this is the line that I use. And I'm not saying nobody did, because some people did,
Right.
but it wasn't as in-depth as I was looking for.
Well, when you're talking about the videos that you're looking at, I'm sure that they said, okay, I'm using this type of bait. They didn't say nothing about the rod. They didn't say nothing about the line.
Yeah, and some people
know.
talk more about their rod and what they use to catch those, but they weren't real explanatory about how they fish that bait specifically.
Right.
And that's what I was looking for. I wanted somebody to basically act like I have never used a fishing rod in my life before.
Right.
And they're going to take me out and they're going to explain to me what this bait looks like. You know, we're hoping to get, well, I actually have a fish tank. And what I'd like to be able to do is when we review some of these lures, I'd like to, the best that I can, show what that lure is going to look like coming through the water.
Right.
It's going to be kind of tough. It's not a real big fish tank. I might even try to invest into a larger fish tank to where I can actually pull, you know, like a crankbait through it, and you can actually see the wobble of the crankbait. We'll show it from different angles, things like that in some of the videos, so that you guys will really have a better understanding. We want to show you guys what a shaky head will look like on the bottom with it moving around. You know, so you know, we want you to understand how the fish sees it, what he's seeing.
As in-depth and informative as we can be.
Absolutely in-depth as we can possibly be.
Right.
And we're hoping to hear you guys' feedback and say, hey, listen, I watched your video on this, but I got another question. Like, you know, maybe how does it look from behind? Because you guys didn't show it. I don't know. I'm just throwing something out there. We go, okay, that's fine. Now we're going to do another video and to explain that answer. And, you know, we're not going to have all the answers, but I can assure you of this. If I don't, I'm going to either research it myself, and I'm going to play with that bait until I understand it 100%. You know, we're blessed that we live on a lake.
Right.
because we can walk down to our water's edge. Our lake's pretty clear, and we can play with that lure and see exactly what it's doing. So, you know, I mean, this is all what we want to be able to bring to you guys. We want to be able to share this as in-depth as possible so that you guys can become better fishermen, or maybe just learn about a new bait. You know, there's a lot of people out there that never fished a shaky head.
Really?
And they have no idea how big of a bullet that is when it comes to fishing for bass.
Yeah.
You know, when that bite is really hard, or you've located fish, and you know, and you're fishing with, you know, a crankbait, and you're cranking these fish, and there's still fish there, but the bite just died, and you can't get them to bite no matter what.
And that happens so often.
Oh, absolutely. You break out that shaky head and you whip that thing out. And watch what'll happen. Or a wacky head, or a wacky rig, or a mojo rig.
Right.
You know, some people don't even know what a mojo rig is.
Right. Some people might not know what a wacky is, but I mean, that's the whole thing.
But
I mean, that's what this is for.
Right. We're going to talk to you guys. We're going to show you live. We're going to demonstrate tying it on. We're going to explain what knot we use. You know, and you guys will be able to see all the different knots that we tie.
Right. We
plan on getting a tie board that'll actually be an eyeball with a rope of small gauge, so that you guys can actually see a knot and not try to look at somebody tying a 6-pound line on a video camera that's 10 feet away. I mean, let's just face it, I mean, it's already invisible enough, let alone trying to see it that far away. So I mean, unless your hands are this close to the video camera, you're never going to see what somebody's doing.
There's no dumb questions. Okay?
No dumb questions.
Any question is a good question. It might trigger something in us. It might trigger something in someone else that is, you know, that we've talked about that question. So, us researching whatever question you have is invaluable to us.
We might not even know what you're talking about.
Right.
We bring something up and we go, huh. Okay, let's look into that rig, or let's look into that style. You know, let's do this, let's do that. And you know, like I said, you know, we want to be able to bring you guys all the information that we possibly can. And
the more questions, the better. Just because those little things that you don't think about. I mean, it's key.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, like I said, we want to bring you guys to that next level. So,
and we want to go there as well. So.
That's right. We want to go there as well. So I think that the other thing that we really want to do during every one of these podcasts and video sessions, so all of our podcasts are also being videotaped. So you'll be able to go out to YouTube and see all of our podcasts from a video aspect.
Right.
So if you're listening to this, when I get ready to announce the bait that we're actually going to talk about today, the product manufacturer, the bait itself, then, you know, you're hearing it in your car or wherever you're listening to this podcast at, you'll be able to go to the YouTube page, pull up all the information on this lure and see it. We'll put a link to their website at the end of all of our videos as well. So today I actually want to talk about tubes. And
well, especially because Lake St. Clair's right around the corner.
Lake St. Clair's right around the corner, and it's not that I won't throw a tube, because I threw one last night for a long time, caught a lot of fish, just unfortunately none of them were keepers. But
and we know that, of course, the smallmouth are huge on Lake St. Clair, and that's the tournament that's coming up for us. So, of course, we're excited about this one.
Absolutely. So, the tubes that we're going to talk about are actually made here in Prudenville, Michigan. And it's made by a company called Case Plastics. You can actually visit Case Plastics at caseplastics.com. They actually have another storefront that you can actually order through. The storefront, for some reason, right now is actually evading me. I guess I could probably look it up on my phone to give you guys a better answer. Let's see.
Well, you've got, what do you got? Those, the lunch money, is that what it is? The lunch money?
So, let's see. Fishing fishingcompleteinc.com. So fishingcompleteinc.com is the site that you can actually go to actually order these baits. Hold that up to the camera. This is a pack of their Lunch Money flipping tubes. They're 4-inch. They come in a 10-pack. I want to say I paid, I don't know, right around $5 for a 10-pack. These are heavily salted baits, and if you look at this color on the camera, it's kind of a green watermelon with, it's got some red flake in it, some purple flake, it looks like some black flake, and it's got almost a salt and pepper tail on it.
And that tail isn't true white or nothing. It's more of
No,
a clear.
it's clear. It's a clear tail
With a purple
with
flake.
the purple and black flakes in it.
Okay.
And I can tell you that this bait is dead.
Let me see one of those because
Absolutely. Don't rub on my sunlight.
no.
I want it to sink.
And that's a good hardy bait too.
Mhm.
I mean, you're talking
It is.
you're talking nice and stiff to you know, I mean, I guess a hook in that thing holds pretty good for a while.
Absolutely. I think that the one that I originally tied on, I fished 2 tournaments with, and I never had to replace it. I'm not saying that I shouldn't have, due to salt content. You know, obviously, you know, salt's due for a couple of different things. Salt adds weight, so it causes the bait to fall faster. Heavy salt content will definitely cause a bait to fall faster. A lot of French fries, for instance, a lot of those actually have a heavy salt content in their tail end, so that it has a tendency to drift away and down further.
That's cool. See, I didn't even know that.
Right, but they don't in the rest of the fish, you know, or in the rest of the bait. So the only part of it is heavy salt content. Salt is actually good because when the fish bites into it, it has a salty flavor. It causes them to hold on to that for a little bit more, just like garlic or anything else.
Yeah.
You know, some of these are going to be garlic scented. The ones from Case Plastics, I did actually taste one, and it's really funny because I heard somebody say the other day, if you don't know what your bait tastes like, or if it's heavily salted or anything else, bite it.
Yeah.
See what it tastes like. I mean, it's just salt. It's not going to kill you. You know, I mean, even the garlic stuff isn't going to kill you. It might taste nasty. You might spit for a minute. But, you know, just to give you an idea of what your bait might taste like, you know, it's a great way of doing it.
I wouldn't recommend tasting the garlic stuff.
No, I can tell you that I sniffed Spike It.
You can
the
smell
other day,
it.
And
So you don't need to taste
after
it.
I sniffed it, I read the back of it and it said, "Do not breathe this," and I
Oh,
can see
really?
why, because it just about made me throw up.
Wow.
So Spike It fluorescent yellow is not the color of the fire. Don't sniff it, it's bad. Excuse my French, I promise I'll try to curb that. But yeah, caseplastics.com. If you actually just look up Case Plastics, it automatically redirects you to the other website, fishingcompleteinc.com. You can actually order these. Like I said, this is the Lunch Money. They do actually have other colors available. I actually ordered 2 different colors. I ordered that one. You can actually take that up to the camera and kind of give everybody a show of the front and the back of the package there.
Yeah.
And that way they can see what the color looks like on the inside. And I did actually order another color. I ordered the pumpkin color. And just seemed like a kind of more of like a crawfish color. So I went with that pumpkin just to kind of see what would happen. I haven't tried one yet, but I'm just having such good luck with these that
there's no
if it
reason
ain't
to
broke,
change
don't
right
fix
now.
it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I'm a real big proponent of keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
You know, I mean, so many people out there are like, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to look just like that. You know, I mean, and yeah, I mean, there are some exceptions. I mean, you know, but for the most part, you know,
You can try the colors you like.
you try the colors you like, but just remember, it's not about what you like.
Right.
It's about what that fish likes.
Exactly.
You know, I mean.
Well,
Bass are not stupid fish. Now, I don't care how many people will say a bass is stupid.
No.
They are not stupid. You throw a line out there, you know, let's just say you throw 80-pound braid on a tube in clear water. Good luck. Because two things are going to happen. You're going to throw that bait a lot, and you're going to reel it in a lot. And that's all you're going to do.
Yeah.
You know, because bass aren't stupid. They're going to see that line, and they're going to go, what the? And chances are that line's going to scare them, and they're going to be out of it.
Right.
So, you know, these are the things that we want to bring up to you guys' attention. You know, fishing with 17-pound mono on a tube is not ideal. You know, they can see that 17-pound mono sitting there in the water, and let alone that tube's going to fall so slow, it's not even going to be funny. It's going to take you an hour for it to go 15 feet and drop to the bottom. Might as well take a nap.
Yeah. And then, you know, you've got, I mean, not to say you can't use 17-pound test on a tube, but it better not be clear water.
It shouldn't be 17-pound anyway.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
But right.
Not to say you wouldn't catch a fish in muddy water or anything, but you know,
I can
less
assure
likely.
you, yeah, right. You know, and that'll be something that we talk about too. The kind of lines that we use, the pound test that we use. I have a tendency. I like to stay between 6 and 12 pound.
Yep.
Anything more than that, you know, I do use braid on one of my spinning rods, but I also tie an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader to it. You know, and it's usually 8 to 10 foot fluorocarbon. So, you know, I use that braid because I like that sensitivity, and I like the fact that there's not as much stretch. Well, actually, there's zero stretch. You know, I like to have that heavy hook up, and you know, and I'm not a huge person that enjoys using drag. You know, the faster I can get that fish to the boat when I'm fishing tournaments, the better. If I'm not fishing tournaments, I like my drag. Yeah, I like to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, I like to feel that fish pull and have him take some line and stuff like that. But when I'm fishing a tournament, it's cast per hour. It's how many times can I get that bait
and fish
out there and fish it every hour.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm constantly retying, then I'm wasting time. You know, if I'm you know, switching lures every 5 minutes, all I'm doing is wasting time.
Like I
should have a line in the water all the time. That's why we buy multiple rods. You know, you look at these guys on the Elite Series, and you know, they're carrying 20 rods with them, and they're already rigged. You know, they're not stopping and tying a line,
right,
looking at it, make sure it's purdy. You know, these guys have practiced putting a worm on a hook so that it's straight, it's perfect. There's no spinning in that worm. When that worm hits the bottom and it's moving, it's using its natural movement of what that manufacturer intended for that worm. Not some crazy off the wall, got it hooked through the side, barely hooked through the head of the worm. It doesn't look like shit. You know, their hook head isn't hanging out of the top of the worm. It's nice and buried in there. It's anchored nice. It's straight as an arrow, because that's what that manufacturer intended. So, you know, that stuff's already rigged up for them. They're ready to go. They're on their way. This is what they're doing. They're fishing for a living. They're fishing to win something at the end of that tournament. You know, the tournaments we fish, we absolutely have the ability to win money. I did Sunday, and I won a decent chunk of change. I mean, it was nice to be able to come home and say, man, I've spent all this money on my fishing equipment, and now I'm reaping the rewards of it. Doesn't mean I'm going to cash every time, but isn't that the goal?
Well, you know, you got more money coming too, don't you?
No. Do I?
For the tournament, for the club, from the club.
No, they already paid me.
I think you get that at this meeting company.
No, they already paid me.
Did that?
Oh. But anyway, so you know, with that kind of stuff being said, you know, we really just want to stress that we really hope you guys stick around. I really hope that you guys will follow us and you know, understand where we're coming from. You know, we don't want to make this video super long and drawn out, just because this is really just our introduction video. It's our introduction podcast, and you can count on every week we'll have a new bait to talk about during this time. Watch for our lure reviews, watch for our rod reviews. I've actually got a new rod and reel on its way. I should have it by next Friday, and actually probably before that. I am going to do an unboxing video. I'll actually give you guys a little heads up. I kind of got intrigued by the Tatula, by the Daiwa, and I want that little bit of extra casting distance, and those reels seem to really be generating a lot of talk. And
I can't wait to see it, because I want to check it out.
Yeah, I paired it with a Daiwa S-Series rod, 7 foot 6 inches, medium action. You know, there's a lot of people out there that go, gosh darn man, 7 foot 6 inches. Well, I mean, everybody's got their style, and you know, some people might say, geez, what are you going to use it for? Well, I can tell you what I'm going to use it for. I'm going to use it for finessing. I'm going to use it for jigs. I'm going to use it for tubes. I'm going to use it for worms. I'm going to use it for, you know, other types of finesse fishing. Mojo rigging, which is just a finesse version of a Carolina rig. Yeah, I want something long so I can get that extra whip out of that rod and really get that bait out there. You know, time on bottom or time in the zone is important.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what a lot of people don't realize is that, you know, if you're out there and you've got, let's say you're fishing with a 6 foot rod, and you put 15-pound mono on that rod, and you're trying to throw a 1/4 ounce bait, and you can only throw that thing 40 feet, then the first thing you have to do is wait for that lure to hit the zone that you're going for, whether it's top water. Well, top water wouldn't count, but you'd only be out 40 feet. You know, middle zone, you know, you're still only getting probably 35 feet of actual, maybe not even 35, maybe only 30 feet, because by the time you lift it out of the water and it comes out 5 feet in front of you, you've really only fished, you know, 25 feet, 20 feet. Yeah. So 20 feet isn't enough. I want to get that bait out there,
so you can cover more water
as far as I can, to have that bait in that strike zone for as long as possible. Me personally, I like a longer rod. I'm not a tall guy, and I know that a lot of people say, oh, you should match it to your height. But I can tell you, when I take my 7.3 Wright & McGill rod with my Revo SX reel, I can chuck a bait a very long way with that rod. So I know once I get this Tatula and I've got a 7.5 foot medium, I should be able to really get that bait out there even further to get that long period of time where that bait's in that strike zone.
Well, another thing I wanted you to go over, because we're talking about technique and all that stuff. We want to be in depth with that. On these tubes that you were using on the last tournament, I know you caught, you know, what was it, a 4.2?
I think it was right around 4.4, 4.3.
Oh, okay. The technique with these tubes, you know, I wanted you to go over that, what you were using to catch that fish.
Right.
Because that is important for these tubes, I noticed, because that's how we were catching a lot of fish.
That is true, and so we will. Let's talk about that. Great point. Yeah. Just to let you guys know, we will actually have an actual video where I actually demonstrate exactly what I was doing and what I do when I fish with a tube to trigger those bites. And we'll also talk about conditions. So Sunday we fished Stony Lake, Metro Park.
Oh, the Stony Creek is what it's.
Is it Stony Creek,
yeah.
Metro Park? Yeah, but it's Stony Lake, I think. But nonetheless, whatever it is, we were out there, and
the weather just sucked.
The weather was horrible. Actually, we were supposed to fish St. Clair, and when we got out there, there was a small craft advisory. Obviously, nobody's got a boat that's over 21 foot. foot.
No, I think it's 25.
No, what I'm saying is none of us had a
Well,
boat
right,
that was even
right.
close to 25
And-
foot.
yeah.
And, you know, nobody wanted to be drugged back in. Or
Your insurance
damaged
doesn't cover it.
Insurance isn't going to cover your boat if you're out in a small craft advisory. So we decided to fish another lake. And basically what we did was drift fish. So, you know, we pulled up to a spot where we knew there was a nice drop. You know, we were fishing up in between 10 and 12 foot of water.
Yeah.
Relatively clear bottom. There was a little bit of weed at the top, and we were dragging right along the weed edge. And the baits were actually thrown out and just drug on the bottom with just a few different twitches along the way. So as we're drifting back with the wind, you know, we've got our rod tips kind of low. We're twitching, you know, 2 twitches, let it sit. Drag it for a while, 2 twitches, let it sit. Well, then what I started thinking about was, all right, you know, I mean, that was producing fish. No doubt about it, we were producing a lot of fish. As a matter of fact, the guy that I was fishing with was culling, you know, throwing back 2.5 pound fish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean,
17,
decent
18
17, 18 inch, 2.5 pounds. He was just, you know, weighing, measuring them, right back in the water. So what I started to do was, along the lines of that, every once in a while I would snap my line. I would take my rod from about 7 o'clock. So, you know, I'm standing up in the boat with my rod basically down towards the water. I want to keep that bait as close to, you know, the bottom as I possibly can.
Right.
I mean, we were drifting pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think, you know, at one point we were up to like 2.5 mile an hour drifts.
Wow.
And, you know, and I mean, you know, I'm only using an 8 ounce, you know, jig weight or tube bait hook and inside my tube. So every once in a while what I would do is I would just kind of mix it up. I'd get that trigger off the bottom so that I'm yanking that bait 4 feet off the bottom and then letting it, you know, spiral back down to the bottom. And I was actually getting quite a few bites that way. So starting at 7 o'clock, I was snapping my rod till right around 11, 12 o'clock. So, you know, and I was snapping it hard. I wasn't just raising it up and then giving it slack and letting it come back down. I mean, we're talking about, I mean, I was yanking that
Well,
bait.
that helps for the weeds too. If you get any bit of weeds,
Absolutely.
it helps break some of them
Absolutely,
off.
it does. It'll, you know, if you grab the bottom, you know, and you catch a little bit of algae or whatever, and you
Yeah.
snap that rod real hard, you know, hopefully it's flushing off your bait. And every once in a while I might do 2 just
Yeah.
real hard cracks of my rod to kind of shake that stuff off, and then just letting that bait fall back down, allowing a little bit of slack in my line. I want kind of a relaxed slack. So, you know, as I snapped it up, I just reel it a little bit. Well, I'm throwing it out quite a distance. So, you know, I get probably 4 to 5 good snaps before my bait's pretty much right below me.
Mhm.
And just about that time, we would be at the end of our drift. And then we would come back up to the top, and we'd drift that ledge again. Come back up to the top, drift that ledge again. And for 8 hours, we stayed on that same ledge.
Yeah.
And, you know, I caught 4 fish, just under 11 pounds worth of fish. I had big fish for that day of 4.27 pounds. And, you know, I had some really quality fish. I just, for some reason, I just couldn't get that other one.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to iterate here. We were in a tournament for 8 hours, and you did the same exact thing in the same spot for 8 hours.
Yep.
And you produced, what was it, a second place finish in the tournament?
Second place finish. My
And-
partner, well, the other guy, granted he's a competitor against me, but
Right.
the boat owner himself, he caught 5 great fish. I think he had 13 pounds.
And he actually won the
He
event.
did win the event. And he probably threw back 7 fish.
Right. So, between the two of you, he had 5, you had 4, plus he threw back 7
Right.
in an 8 hour period. That's a lot of fish. I mean,
It
that
is.
really is.
And they were all quality.
Right.
We didn't catch anything that was sub 14 inches. None of them. I did get a few on a drop shot right off the bat, but I quickly switched over to a tube, you know, to try to.
Well, you saw what he was doing,
right?
I mean,
And it produced,
yeah.
you know. So I learned a lot about tubes. Now, I took that same technique, and we went out and did a tournament last night, Wednesday night tournament, and I probably caught 11 fish on a tube.
And I probably caught 5 or 6 just on a tube.
Exactly. So for me, it was a big confidence booster. I'm one of those people that if I learn a new technique and I start to gain a momentum where I'm catching fish, I want to learn everything I can about that technique. I want to think about everything that's possibly going on with that technique.
Right.
And so that's why I'm sticking it out. You know, I want to continue to fish with this because I believe that it is a great weapon in my arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can fish a wacky. I do it all the time. You and I, we go out kayak fishing.
Right.
I fish wacky all the time out of my kayak, and I land huge fish.
Yeah.
You land huge fish.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we catch 4-pounders on a pretty daily basis.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, and all
sometimes
wacky.
a bunch. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like
Sometimes it's just one after another. We're pulling 3 to 4 pounders out one after another. You know, fishing a drop shot. I've proven that to myself. I know that's a great tool. You know, crankbaiting is going to be another one that I'm going to really start to put a little energy into.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. You know.
Right. I mean, I just spent a ton of money upgrading all my crankbaits. You know, I'm not trying to get on a bandwagon or talking about it, but I did. I bought the Kevin Van Dam, you know,
Right.
the 5XDs, the 3XDs, and you know, I need to buy some 8 and 10 XDs.
Well, I'm sure that it'll be that's a whole nother show, but each one of them baits has its specific purpose and shape and why it does what it does, you know.
Right.
So that's something that you got to know.
That's right.
When you're using
and we will absolutely explain the difference between a wide wobble, a tight wobble, depth, how you want to fish in a crankbait, whether you're fishing a 3XD to fish a middle zone, or whether you're fishing that 3XD to dig down in the dirt,
Right.
and you know, bouncing off rocks on Lake St. Clair in 10 feet of water when that bait's supposed to go 12 feet. That's a great way to fish them too, and people don't realize that. You know, you get that crankbait, he's digging into that rocky bottom or that sandy bottom, and he comes across and he hits a rock and he goes bang, and he shoots off to the side. That's a great way to get a strike out of a fish.
A reaction bite.
That,
Yeah.
Right, that may not even be interested in feeding,
Right.
but just react to that and bang.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you got yourself a 6-pound smallie laying in the boat, and you're going, hallelujah.
And not only that, you're trying to think, how did I do that? Why did that happen?
Right,
You know.
absolutely. And those are the things.
That's
that
a
we wanna
piece of the
talk about.
puzzle.
Right, absolutely. So, like I said, watch for these videos because we're going to explain tube fishing. I'm going to show you everything there is to know that I know, the techniques that I use, as far as picking a jig head for this, to inserting it in there, to pinching the tip to actually get the eye hook to pop out, the different types of eye hooks that I like, that I personally care about, tying the knot, what kind of knot did I use, the importance of wetting a knot. Believe me, and I can tell you this, during that Sunday tournament, I decided to switch over to, as a matter of fact, this was when I first switched over to the tube. So I took a tube from the guy that I was fishing with. Not that I didn't have tubes, but I wanted to use the same color. This happens to be that color, this Lunch Money. These are the tubes that he gave me. Well, he gave me one, and I had a tube jig, or a tube hook. I rigged my jig head in there and I tied it up, and I was in such a hurry to get to fish that when I wet my knot, my mouth was a little dry and I didn't get it wet enough. And I cinched it and it was tight. And you know, I pulled my tag in and everything seemed good, and I snipped it off and I threw it out, and I'm gonna tell you, I had a toad. And when I say a toad, I mean definitely right around 5 pounds, if not bigger. He was a beast. That fish hit so hard that when I set that hook, it didn't even seem like it moved. Like I thought, oh my gosh. And he ended up breaking off my line. And I was so upset with myself because not at first I wasn't upset because I thought, well, and I was using a heavier line.
You weren't sure exactly what happened.
But when that line came out of the water and I examined it to put on another jig or two, I realized that my knot had come undone.
And the telltale sign.
Well, because my line came down, and then you could see that polymer knot.
Yeah.
You could see the curves where that polymer knot was, and basically that knot let loose because I didn't wet that knot when I cinched it tight. And if you don't wet it, I assure you, I don't care almost any knot that you tie, you're gonna have problems. There's so much importance to those little things like wetting a knot when you tie it. It causes that strength to become amazing and unbreakable. Right. I've tied polymer knots I can't remember when I didn't use a polymer knot. I mean, it's been 15 years since I think I tied anything else. I think I used to tie a fisherman's knot before that. Right. But then, I learned about the polymer. I realized how strong it was, and I tie it on everything: braid, mono, fluorocarbon. Any line that I have, I love the polymer knot. Now, there are certain lures that I'll tie a different knot on, and we'll go over that.
We'll go over all the knots.
We'll talk about that when we talk about specific baits and stuff like that. Like I like to tie in snell knots when I fish, a weighted jig head. I'm sorry, I misspoke, but like a creature bait with a weight above it. Basically, I want that snell knot to cause that hook when I yank on it to arc up, and it will. It'll actually pop up and it'll grab the inside of their mouth. So when that, when that weight's coming out, that hook isn't just going to follow. That hook's going to curve and it's going to jam in wherever it's coming out at. So generally, it's in the top of their mouth.
That's part of it. I mean, that's what's key to know what knots to tie on what baits.
Absolutely. Yeah. So these are the things that we're going to cover. I hope that we sparked a lot of interest in a lot of you guys. I hope that you guys go, man, maybe I'm going to learn something. Maybe I won't. Maybe we're just entertaining. We do want to put together kind of a skit section at the end of our session, where we play a couple of rednecks and we goof around about different stuff and tell a few jokes and things like that. Yeah, we all want to have a little bit of fun, So we want to be able to do that, and stuff like that, and kind of have like a bloopers at the end of the year, or maybe we misspoke, or we did something silly, fell out of a boat, whatever it is. So we do have plans on investing in some GoPros so that we can actually rig up our boats to, even if we're with somebody else, to actually have video of us catching fish, showing you guys how these baits can actually produce very large fish, and even in lakes that we've never been to. Right. Last night, we fished a lake, and I had never fished the end that we had fished in before, and but yet
I've never been on that lake,
right?
So.
But yet we were still able to locate fish, and we want to talk about that as well. Yeah. So I think we'll go ahead and end it now. I think we've done a pretty good session here, and
first show.
I think that I'm really excited about doing the next one.
Oh yeah, me too.
Like I said, pay attention. We're going to show you guys. We'll talk to you a little bit more about our YouTube videos, but 520 fishing. Just to explain that, I know it's an area code out in Arizona. We are not in Arizona, but the way we came up with that is 5 fish, 20 pounds fishing. So everybody wants to catch a 20-pound bag of fish during a tournament, right? So that's what we came up with so far. That name may change a little bit, who knows? 520 plus fishing, might be another example of something that we might stick with, but we'll let you guys know. We'll keep you guys all up to date and show you everything we have to offer. And like I said, learn with us. We can all become better bass fishermen. Really appreciate the environment as well.
Always remember, hooks are sure.
That's right. All right, till next time, I'm Moose.
I'm Freeman.
And we'll catch you next time.